All right, good morning, folks. Thanks for popping back into Fabrication 10. As we all have probably heard, we have an extended 2 weeks of at-home learning. That email came out last night. It was quick to go out, so that is good. That way, hopefully everyone knows about that and no one's, being caught off guard by that. But it's not ideal. Let's just say that right now. It's not ideal, but we're gonna work with it, and that's why we're gonna start the hand tools project today. So what I'm gonna be doing is running you through a few different little things here. Firstly, we're gonna talk about that hand tools project and what we are creating, and then we're gonna talk about how to create it, options you guys have, freedoms that you guys have within the project, and basically ways to be successful. We're also going to work on a little bit of measuring, just make sure people have some basic skills in measuring, because we do need that for this project. And then also we're going to talk about design proposal, the steps to create the project, and things like that. So that's a bit of an overview of today's class. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to talk about the project, and we're going to take a look at a demo that a completed project that I've done. Now we're going to talk about how to get from a piece of steel to the completed project. So I'm going to grab that example for you. All right. So as you guys know, this is the hand tools project here. It is the stump and axe. So what we have is a piece of 3x3 plate. We have a piece of 2-inch pipe cut off at 2 inches. Then we cut a cap with the plasma cutter or the torch, and we weld that to the top of the pipe. On there, we then weld our growth rings, but the hand tools project itself, the head of the axe right here. Now, how are you going to do it if you're at home? Well, you're going to do it when you come back. We're going to work on stuff in the periphery right now, which is, design, things like that. But when we get back here, we're going to knock this out for a few days and then straight into the welding, because we don't really have time otherwise. So what we have here is, like I said, that axe head. And that axe head is fashioned out of a piece of 3-inch long, 1.5-inch wide, by, okay, Fiona's having Wi-Fi problems. Okay, I'm recording this, so I will pop this video into D2L later. She can't see it. So that piece is going to be 3 inches long and 1.5 inches wide, and then it's going to be 3/16 of an inch thick. I'll grab a piece and I'll show you. So this here is the piece of material we're going to be using. So 3 inches long. We cut it a little long for a single axe head. That way we can hold it in the vise. A single axe head is going to be about 1.5 inches long overall, about that length right there. But you do have other options. The design of the axe head is completely up to you. That is going to be a freedom that we are giving you with this project. If you want to do a single axe head, that's fine. If you want to do a double axe head, that's cool. If you want to do a fireman style axe where it's got the point on the back, then that's fine as well. But we're going to have to draw up a design proposal for this. So we're going to talk about the basic one, just a single axe head to start, like the one I have on the example piece right here. So with this, we're going to use some basic hand tools. The basic hand tools we're using are going to be a combination square, soapstone, that's for drawing on the steel. We're going to use a file for finishing up our project, taking burrs off of our steel. Sometimes you get burrs from the saw and they can be sharp, so we're going to take those off. We're going to use some emery cloth, which is like sandpaper for steel. It's going to give us a nice shiny appearance on our steel. And a hacksaw. Hacksaw is going to be to cut off the excess material, so you're not filing for weeks and weeks and weeks. That would not be ideal. And simply, we don't have time for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring the camera a little closer. We're going to talk about the design for a single axe head on the board here. So slide this forward. And hopefully we can see this. So what I have here is, might be backwards for you, but hand tools axe head. It looks backwards to me on the screen. Hopefully it's the right way for you. And a basic rough drawing. I just created this quickly. I wanted to create an official drawing, but since it is a design your own project, a freestyle project, it's just best if I give you an example and let your imagination take you wherever it does. If you want to work on it a certain way, you can do a Viking style axe where it's got a bigger face on the front and a little skinny back end on it. You could do traditional style ones. It's really up to you. So I'm letting you guys have that one. What I've done here is I've drawn out the basic single axe head. It's going to be like this one right there on the piece of steel. So that's going to be using 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches of this 3-inch piece. So you'd have extra that you can give back to me, discard, weld onto something. I really don't care. I'm just providing you enough for the project and to complete a double head axe if you wanted to. I have started a double head one. I just want to see how it will work and kind of test running the project. And I'm going to grab that and show you that one. So I've started this one here. This is a little bit bigger piece of steel, but I've got one bit on the back here. The line's kind of been drawn off, but it would be like that. I would end up cutting that with a hacksaw. You can't cut curves with a hacksaw. So what I would do is I would cut this straight and then take a little piece off there, a little piece off there, and use the file to file the rest. Like kind of like I've done with this one. So this one here has been filed. It was a bunch of straight cuts. Same with this. It was straight cuts and filed. I need to do a little bit of work on the bottom here, but this is going to be a double-headed axe or a double bit axe as they call them. But for the basics, let's go to the basics here. So right here on the board, we have our 1 1/2 inch piece of square material. I've got the measurement here, 1 1/2 inch. This is a dimension line here. If you're taking comp sci, stuff like that, construction, you'll know what these should be, or design studies. We got the ends of these here marking it, and then we have this one on the side showing 1 1/2 inch as well. So a 1 1/2 inch square piece of material. To give us certain aspects like the curve of the head here, we have to offset or basically set our lines back a little bit so we can put the point on the axe. I don't know if you can see that, but it's got that taper on it, just like an axe head would. That's right there. So we need to basically set things back a little bit on the drawing in order to give us the space to do the file work to create that nice shaped surface. So with that, what I do is I come up to this top corner right here and I mark back 1/4 inch. So I make a mark at 1/4 inch. And then what I do is this is a part where you can just implement whatever measurement you want, but I draw a line out to the edge of the plate somewhere, and I then cut that piece off. That's going to give me one angle of the face, and then I'm going to do the same for the bottom here. So back 1/4 inch, and then I will cut up and cut that piece off, and that's going to leave us with this kind of shape right here. So it starts to form the back side or the front side of the head. So this line would now be like that. This line would now be like that. We can get rid of the dotted lines. All right, so that's a bit of the shaping of the head there. And this is going to be the front or the cutting edge of the head. So from here, what we do is then we take a file and we start to work that round contour here. And that's why I drew the dotted lines. So when we're doing that, you can basically put whatever curve on it you want. Once you've got that done, this material here will all been removed with the file. So we can actually get rid of this material now too. So then we're going to draw this line solid instead of a shadow line, because this is going to be the front curvature of our axe head. Now, to give it that tapered shape at the back, to give it that wedge shape, what we have to do is we have to get rid of some material on the back. And we can kind of see I've got a dotted line drawn here. And I've got a measurement here that says 1/4 of an inch. Bring this a little closer, see if we can get this a little better. Awesome. So I've got this at 1/4 inch here. And any material I intend to remove, I always mark with an X. So you can see I've got an X here and an X here. That means that this stuff is going to go away and disappear. So what I want to do here is now we're going to theoretically hacksaw this piece off. And what we're going to do is firm up this line. And then we can get rid of that there. So now we got a bit of taper on that. Get rid of the extension line off the back there. And we're almost there. So we can do the same thing for the bottom here. This is marked 1/4 inch up. And I connect it with that mark I put at 1/4 inch away from the end, because this originally had that type of shape to it. So this mark is 1/4 inch back. That's important because that gives us the curve of the blade. This part here, we have the X's on it. We've got that dotted line. So let's firm up that dotted line. Let's pretend we've cut that piece off and do is basically we now have our axe head shaped. So overall, it shouldn't take you a whole lot of time to get this completed. Just how much work you want to put into the small details is the thing. So it didn't take us very long to get that head designed. So that is basically what I'm looking for. To put the bevel on it, that's going to be done with a file. So we have to remember that this is going to be square edge here. So what we might want to do is draw a secondary line with some soapstone. And that's going to be our guide for the beveled edge. That's going to represent this edge right by my fingertip. And the front edge is going to be this one here. So this one, to achieve that shape, you see that pointed shape there, all we do is we take a file and we file down across it, just like you've seen in, was it something like Charlotte's Web, the kids movie? I don't know if you guys have seen that one, but the farmer, he's sharpening his axe on a big grindstone. Instead of a grindstone, we're going to be using a file, and we're going to do what's called a double beveled edge. So if we're looking at it from the top down, it would start off as square like this. And then as you grind, you would take away a little bit by little bit. And eventually, you'd end up with those points there. And this is all filed off. Same with this. So we can remove that. And that gives you that bevel on your axe head. That gives you that shape you're looking for. So that is the gist of the hand tools portion of this project. There are things we'll have to cut as well, like the handle. That's just a little 4-inch piece of 3/16 round stock to match the thickness of the handle or the head. All you do is just straight cut that off, take a file, You take off the burrs, the edges, and that's pretty much done. Then it's ready for tacking. So once this stuff is done, I put this away and then I reincorporate it back into the project at a later date, because we actually hand our hand tools project in at the end, because it incorporates the plate, the pipe, the welding, stuff like that. I don't want this handed in as a single piece. I want this handed in as a complete finished product. And that way everything gets done. It all comes in. If you complete this and you've done the welds you need to for each unit, you get all your credits, some pretty good marks. I don't scrutinize these too hard. This is going to be a pass fail. If you give me something that looks like this and it doesn't look like you put absolutely minimal effort into it, you will receive marks for it. You will receive your credit in the hand tools unit. Yeah, I'm pretty easygoing as far as the marks. This is more a course that I want you to come and explore, have some fun with welding, to see what it's about. I'm not about, grading every weld, scrutinizing every little defect on it. I get to do that at the higher levels, the 20 and the 30. So this one's coming in, having a lot of fun, doing some cool projects while we're at it. So what I'm going to be looking for from you is I need a drawn design proposal. Your limitations with this are you must be able to complete it with hand tools. So we're going to write this stuff on the board right here. That way we have it referenced. X and design. So some of the key components of this one, I'm just going to turn this a little bit so you can see it. So first one, big one, you must be able to make it with hand tools. Second one is the maximum size. So maximum size is going to be 3 inches by 1 1/2 inches. The design is your choice. So not a whole lot of parameters with this. You get a lot of freedoms with it. I like to do this because people like to express themselves differently. They have different ideas. Someone may think of something totally cool that I haven't thought of. So that's neat. That's pretty much it as far as the parameters go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a Dropbox. Oh, one thing also I forgot. Include rough measurements. On your drawing. So yeah, we're including measurements on your drawing. They have to be somewhat accurate too. I don't expect everything to be perfectly to scale, but I don't want you just throwing random numbers on there saying it's, 6 inches long and 2.5 inches thick and stuff like that, right? I want to see something within these parameters. So maximum size, 3 inches by 1 1/2. The center portion is going to be up to you guys, whether you do these straight edges, like we can see on here. You can also curve it a little bit. What I can do is I can get some round files or some half round files, and it will allow us to make those curved sections a little easier. So right now we're mainly using flat files for this. but I do have some round ones, so I'll kind of show you what those are. So I do have a couple round files. I'm going to get a few more, and this is going to allow us to put curves on our design. These are going to work good for inside curves. For outside curves, I would definitely use a flat file, because as we see here, this can be easily filed from the outside. But if you are putting something like an inside curve, kind of like how this is going to be, then you may have to use a round file for an inside curve. Fairly simple, all in all. This project is just to get us familiar with hand tools, get us using them. And then really what it does is it really makes us appreciate the power tools when we get to use them. I don't often use many hand tools, but in my welding career, there were certain hand tools I used all the time. Files were one of them. A half round file, especially when I was working with pipe. You'd be filing the faces and lands of pipe. You'd be using the half round side to deburr the inside before it was welded, and lots of things like that. They always come in handy. They're always useful to have. I used to work with a lot of electricians. They'd install what's called unistrut. Unistrut is what they hang all their electrical stuff off of. When you cut that with a bandsaw or a hacksaw, it's quite sharp. So we always file the insides of it to make sure it's safe for whoever's handling it or working with that in the future. So they do come into play quite often. We do have a lot of cool tools that kind of replace stuff like this, but these are always useful, especially if you're running battery operated tools and say you run out of batteries. Good to have these stuff like this as backup in your toolbox, in your truck, whatever you're working with, or even in the classroom here like I've got. So with that being done, what I want to do is I want to share my screen, and I want to go over a bit of a ruler exercise measurement. So what we're going to do is see if I can pop open this. I'm going to share my screen in just a second with you. And what we're going to do is I'm going to encourage you folks to participate in this. All right, so what I want to do is I'm going to share my screen. Then what we're going to do is we are going to work on, it's called a ruler game. It's pretty simple here, but some of us are not overly familiar with measuring. So what we're going to do is, oh, I don't want that. No, I don't want that at all. Okay, let's take two. Ruler game, new inch ruler game. Basically what it does is it asks you for certain measurements. You guys can go to this. It's rulergame.net if you want to work with this. Nice thing about this is you can change the increments on the ruler. Right now we're working in eighths. And what we do is it'll ask you certain dimensions, and then you just find them, you click on it, it says yay, or it says, oh, maybe try again, right? This is just to get familiar with rulers, because we're doing a lot of measuring. We're measuring with standard. Now there are two systems of measuring, basically standard and metric. Oh, so I didn't do it in time. So 1 and 15/16. So we got 1 full inch, 15/16 is gonna be right here. And hooray, we got it. So I encourage you guys to get on, try this. 7/16, that's 1/16 smaller than an eighth. 1 and 15/16, right there. You know, this does a good job of building you up. So 2 and 7/16, right there. 1 and 3/16, it's gonna be right here. So each little tick mark is going to be 1/16 of an inch in here. So 5/16. So I know that's 4 at a quarter. 5/16 is here. 3 3/4, obviously 3 inches. 3/4, one of the bigger lines right there. And you guys can do a little bit of work with this. I like it. It just builds basically repetition, and it builds familiarity with rulers, because we are going to be using them in here. Measurements do come into play in fabrication, especially in the 20 level when we're setting up like roots and lands. I think I'm going to end up with a game over here. Yeah, game over. Basically, just a fun little game. I like it because it's not straight up me giving you a lesson on, hey, we got to read rulers. This turns into a bit of a game. It's nice and very easy. You don't have to download anything. It's just right at rulergame.net. So that is basically what I'm looking for today for you. I'm going to open up the Dropbox for the submissions. We're going to stop sharing. So resume share, stop share. Basically, I'm going to open up that Dropbox for you in the next few minutes here. It can be digital format, it can be a picture of a drawing, as long as it includes what I'm looking for. And once again, what I'm looking for is your axe head design. It must be able to make it with hand tools. Maximum size 3 inches by 1 1/2 inches. Material is 3/16 of an inch thick. Material. This is also why I like to do the ruler game, because we're throwing 16ths, quarters, could be halves, all sorts of different denominators in there. So when adding or subtracting, you know, we got to find the lowest common denominator. That's just how we work with this. So that's why I like to build a little bit of skills with the ruler game. So we talked about the maximum size, 3 inches by 1 1/2 inches. So those who aren't familiar with it, you see 2 little tick marks there, 2 little tick marks there, there. Those 2 tick marks indicate inch. So if it was just to be 1 tick mark, so if I said 3 by 1 1/2 and just did that, that single tick mark indicates a foot. So a much bigger measurement than an inch. So the double tick marks are inches. So 3 by 1 1/2 inches. Small detail with big results in the outcome. If you draw a drawing up, you make it in feet and you give it to somebody, and they bring back this 3-foot axe head instead of a 3-inch axe head, you know, there's a heck of a lot more work going into that. So it's a small detail sometimes make a big difference. Also with this, design is your choice. And include your measurements on your drawing. That's what I'm looking for there. I don't need anything super professional, but something that is clear to read, does not look like chicken scratch. It's got your name on it. It's pretty much what I'm looking for. It's part of the design process. In my 30 level, I do a lot of this design process. We get more refined with it. We propose, we design, we draft, we draw, and then we build and execute our own projects in 30 level. So that's quite neat. And that's why I like to incorporate a little bit of this. We'll do it again in the 20 level, a little bit more in depth. And then in the 30 level, that's when it all comes to fruition with the design and creation of your own products. So that's all I got for you today, folks. Thanks for popping in. Make sure your name is in the chat. I need that for, I think, yeah, Cyril. So this is for today. And yeah, so basically get your names in the chat. I'll do the attendance. You guys start working on this and you are good to go. If there's any questions, fire away. I'll answer them. For some reason, I couldn't hear somebody earlier. So if I don't answer your question, type it in the chat. Should we send it through email? No, I'm going to create a Dropbox. It'll be in your Fabrication 1010 unit. There will be a Dropbox for this. I will make that in the next few minutes here. I think I already have one. I think I just need to open it up. I got to double check. Otherwise, my email gets flooded with all the stuff. I'll miss it, and you may not get the marks you deserve if you send an email, because right now I'm getting tons and tons and tons of emails a day, especially with online learning, Zoom meetings, things like that. So Dropbox is where it's at, because that way there's no denying if I miss it, it's going to be there. We'll find it. Then that's my problem. Yeah, I'm going to upload this recording to D2L in just a little bit here. I need to finish processing. Then I got to upload it. It'll take a little bit, but it will be available for you shortly. Okay, so that is all, folks. Any questions, let me know. You can ask them here, shout them out. I got a mic on today, and I think it's kind of messing with the audio from my computer. So if you're asking something on the computer and I can't hear you or get back to you, email brian.scott@learn.cssd.ab.ca or in the chat right here. So awesome. Thank you much, folks. Have a great day. It's supposed to be nice out there. See if you can get out in the sun for a bit. And yeah, just let's do our work. Let's get this done. We'll make the best of it. And I'm going to have everything prepped ready for when you guys get here. And we're just going to jump on it and go like mad people, but safe mad people. We're going to complete this, get in the welding, make it happen. I'm going to start knocking out this project and a bunch of the welding theory in the next 2 weeks here. Okay. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you much for joining me. I'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye, mister. Bye, mister.